he's a medium starter now. Nice, that's good. Last time he was a low starter, I think, so now he's medium. Oh my god.
This entire video was full of epic clips of the greatest airplane you'll ever see. I don't even know how life I find it. Yeah, 360 up there. Hit him one more time, then 360. 360. Oh. We're gonna see, you know? This guy's shotgun, dude. I think they're gonna allow it. I think they're gonna allow it. Yeah, they got it. Okay. Oh. 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 Seriously, if you want to find the video, well done. Another day, another video talking about Robertson and JT Miller and everything in between. Because another video here, most of these videos where we talk about one of the guys, we cannot help but bring up the other guy. Like, that's just kind of how it goes, right? They're always like this nowadays. But either way, today's video is about Robertson. It's about the other teams that might be in the mix, or at least according to Elliot Freeman, he believes they should be in the mix. And we're also going to be highlighting JT Miller again because, dude, is it just me? Or has this guy kind of played himself out of the trade market? Like, you know, the meme, congrats, you played yourself. JT Miller has played so well the past few games that all of a sudden I think about the Canucks and the trade price they had earlier on in the year, and I start to say to myself, you know, the Canucks and the way they evaluated Miller back in January, do you really think they evaluate him the same way today? Do you think they 10-point scorer in the league before he went on yet another tremendous point streak, and before he had a 4.9 against the Montreal Canadiens, capped off by him going out there and scoring an absolutely beautiful snipe off the pickpocket of Jeff Petrie. To me, JT Miller has kind of reached that status where if any team is going out there and still trying to get this guy because he's their main priority, I don't know if there's any team that could realistically make a price that the Canucks would be comfortable with now. You saw the straps that the New York Rangers were apparently trying to throw over the Canucks' way in order to get Miller. That was before he became super hot fire. And so now we have ourselves a situation where Brock Besser is apparent to be the more talked about candidate when it comes to the trade conversation because he is an expiring RFA because he's got that qualifying offer, $7.5 million a season, and plus the fact that he's just not as good as Miller is right now. And so for any team going out there wanting to get a playoff acquisition, a playoff, rental, I'd say rental very hesitantly because Besser still has RFA protection, but we are hearing more and more amongst different NHL media sources that Besser might be more likely to get traded amongst him and Miller. The question is just where. Jeff Merrick said this on Sportsnet yesterday that Brock Besser will likely go to a team that does not only need goal scoring and help on the power play, but that can also absorb that qualifying offer of $7.4 million. Merrick throws out the Washington Capitals and the LA Kings as potential suitors. He also wonders if there is a Vancouver-LA marriage on the horizon. And so you go over to these two teams, Washington and LA, and you see, okay, where exactly do their salary cap situations lie? Could they make a trade for a Brock Besser and be willing to absorb that cap hit? Well, speaking about the cap, hey, the Washington Capitals have themselves $0 in cap space right now. They have used up $3.1 billion of their LTIR, and that's pretty much what they have available to them. Brock Besser is going to be a pretty sizable player in terms of the money if he gets traded over there. He's making $5-point-something million this season, and so automatically... Capitals would need to make some moves if they were to free up the money for Brock Besser to enter their lineup. The way things are right now, you take a look at next season, they have themselves Schultz coming off the books, Kempton's coming off the books, and so do Daniel Sprong and Matt Irwin, not to mention Samsonov and Vanacek. So there are going to be some conversations they have when it comes to who stays, who goes, and whether or not that $7.5 million qualifying offer can realistically be absorbed. And I say realistically because the way I'm looking at it right now, unless they make some significant changes, they remove some significant pieces, it doesn't really look like to me that the Capitals would have the cap space to get this done, assuming they don't trade away a $4, $5, $6 million player, that which they don't really have too many of. It's Wilson, Manta, Oshie, Kuznetsov, Backstrom, Ovi, and then of course the defense, Carlson and Orlov. Doesn't really seem like the most appropriate move for them to make, in my opinion. If you're a Washington Capitals fan, you can go out there and let me know in the comments why I am wrong or not. However, when it comes to the idea of Besser going over to the Capitals, I think about this team and I think about the goal scoring they already have. I think about the snipage that we see from Ovechkin and TJ Oshie. All of a sudden, if you throw in a Brock Besser as well, you get yourselves a really interesting combination of goal scoring all throughout your lineup. These guys are all pretty capable goal scorers, so the idea that Merrick is throwing out there saying that the Capitals need more goals and they need more help on their power play, I mean, in isolation, I guess you could say that they could use some more help, but having Brock Besser as an addition to Oshie and Ovi, to me that doesn't really seem like the big eureka moment as it might appear to other teams if they acquired somebody of the goal-scoring caliber Brock Besser possesses. Besser, if you take a look at this season and his overall production, he has been sort of in a slump. That entire Travis Green thing screwed him over, but he has been playing a lot better under the new coach and Bruce Boudreau. Besser in his last 10 games has 9 points. In his last 5 games, he's got 4 points. This season in total, he's on pace for 25 goals. He's got 17 and 52, and he is on pace for 50 total points. Now, he did get 50 points last year in 56 games. He was under a point per game, so there you go. The Travis Green skin really did screw with his numbers. But Besser, under Boudreau, is a lot better of a player, and so I don't really doubt just the goal-scoring capability that he has. Going over onto the LA Kings and taking a look at where
COVID-19 vaccines have helped protect us. Over time, the antibodies created after vaccination have been found to decrease. While we still have good protection against severe illness, a booster dose produces more.
Washington Capitals. Take a look at this. They have $600,000 in cap space, and they do have some LTIR money that they can use. Sean Walker's making $2.6 till the end of 2024, and Alex Edler is on this team right now too, making $3.5. And I almost forgot that Alex Edler even existed. I feel really bad because of that. Long story short, though, the Kings do have some more cap that they can use. This LTIR space at crude is $6.1 million, and then you still have Victor Robertson, Brendan Lemieux, and Michael Anderson on the regular IR. That's a lot of money, and if you want to go out there and say that Besser could be added onto the squad already without expending some more money the other way, it would work. Brock Besser would have the ability to just come over onto LA and do what it is that he wants to do. The Kings have been a really good team this season, and they still have all this cap space that they can go out there and use. So adding on a Brock Besser seems like a really interesting move that I'd be super intrigued to hear about if the LA Kings actually wanted to do it. We also had ourselves conversations going around about the LA Kings and their right-hand defensive core. Jordan Spence is a prospect in their system out of Moncton in the QMJHL, who is now playing for Ontario. He's an AHL rookie this year, and he's one of the top guys in the entire league when it comes to points. This is the kind of player that I think the Vancouver Canucks should probably be looking at if the LA Kings are talking about Brock Besser in a potential trade. You have yourself Brant Clark, of course, who is amazing. I do very much like what Brant Clark is as a prospect. You also have Helga Grans. He is in the Ontario Reign system with that Jordan Spence as well. There are so many high-caliber, top-4 potential right-hand defenseman prospects that the LA Kings have that if you trade away a Brock Besser to this team, you need to get at the very least one of these guys. If you get Grans and a Jordan Spence, then honestly, I like the sound of that a lot. Now, I don't want to make it seem like Brock Besser is worth that much in isolation. The fact is, he's an RFA. There is an entire conversation you're going to have to go down when it comes to re-signing this guy, and that decreases his value. But if these two teams, Washington and LA, are going to go at it, my personal preference would lie with the LA Kings. Let's go over a few more tweets to end off this video. Friedman said, the thing about Besser to LA makes sense. When Friedman spoke to the LA Kings GM, he told him he was hoping to not pay the same price as he did for Robertson, which was a second and a third for Besser. Now, to me, Brock Besser is probably, or at least he's supposed to be, worth more than a second and a third. But, as we said, RFA contract negotiations, it's going to cost a lot to qualify and offer 7.5, whatever. It's probably going to be a sizable amount of value that is decreased there for Brock, combined with the fact that he's having a down year. I get it, he's still a 50-point winner in the NHL, he's still a 20-goal scorer in the NHL, but there are things that you can go out there and straw pick to make it seem like he shouldn't be worth as much as he could be. It's just a question of whether or not all this bad stuff that's going on behind his profile is enough to decrease his value from what could have been, let's say, a first-round pick and another prospect to only a second and a third, you know? Despite that, though, I already talked about my trade package proposals. I like Harvey Grant, I like Jordan Spence, I like the right side, so if we get Brent Clark, then hey, I like that too. It just kind of is concerning that the LA Kings do not want to go out there and spend more than what is a second and a third for Besser, because, yeah, I mean, Jim Rutherford, Patrick Alvin, we didn't see you guys in trade action just yet, but if we do, I hope you go out there and you make a good one. No more Jared McCann, no more Ryan Kessler, Nick Bonino trades here, eh? So let me...
ECIC definitely set me up for the real world.
The fast-paced, jam-packed course structure teaches you how to learn quickly.
Actually knowing your instructor and being able to engage with them.
As a person who likes hands-on training as opposed to more theoretical, that really helped me in my career.
Praise be to Mikko Koskinen for sticking in yesterday and actually coming away with the win. The Oilers defeated the Washington Capitals in overtime after a game that was pretty strange. Like, the refereeing was all over the place there. The Oilers ended up conceding a lead with point-something seconds left, something like that. But ultimately, Mikko Koskinen gets a much-needed 2 points for the team. And I wanted to use this video as an opportunity, or not this video entirely, but just maybe the opening of this video, to ask a little bit around about Koskinen and where the Oilers lie with their goaltending. With Mike Smith also being out again, because, yeah, that guy can't seem to catch a break now, can't he? Mikko Koskinen had to be the guy yesterday, and admittedly, some of the goals that he conceded, especially the TJ Oshie goal in the third period, not the one that tied the game, but the one before that, I wasn't really a fan. Like, he comes down the right wing, he just has a lane, he shoots it, and he scores it. It goes through Koskinen's armpit and his elbow. Does not look like a good goal, in my opinion, for a goalie to give up at that stage of the game. But he comes away with the win, so I can't be too picky now, can't I? So I just wanted to open up this video with a conversation about that, first and foremost, because when it comes to the Oilers and their goaltending problems, there have indeed been some very documented reports out of the media saying they want to improve their crease. It's Fleury, it's Jake Allen, it's Jonas Korpisalo, it's any of the names that have been on the trade market the past few days, not even days, but like weeks or months. So if you're an Oilers fan, let me know in the comments your thoughts about your goaltending search. Should you even go after a goalie right here? Do you really just believe in Mikko Koskinen? Or if the case is not, which names out of the ones available would you want to go after the most? One of the names that has circled around the trade rumor mill has indeed been Semyon Varlamov of the New York Islanders. 33 years old, 6'2", 214, he's making $5 million a season until the end of the 2023 year. He's got a modified no-trade clause that kicked off this year, and he's been pretty good the past few years. He's got a .911 save percentage and a .290 goals against in 17 games this year, even though his record on the season is 3-12-1. The Islanders are not really doing all too great this season, and so the goaltending records are not going to look fantastic, but still, the individual save percentage numbers are pretty good. Last year, he had a 9-2 in the playoffs, in 14 games and 9-9 in the regular season in 36 games, so a lot better in the regular season for sure, but still pretty solid in the playoffs nonetheless. Varlamov has been bouncing around from Washington to Colorado to New York, and he's always been a pretty stable, pretty consistent goaltender this entire time. So there's a good enough body of work out here that makes Varlamov an intriguing option for any of these teams that do need goaltenders. We've seen rumors popping around based off of the Colorado Avalanche as to whether or not they would want to acquire Varlamov again. There are other teams in the mix that people are saying could inquire the Islanders about his services, but there is indeed a team in Edmonton that we have already talked about that apparently got rejected in these entire conversations. So, the first source I wanted to talk about was indeed the same 32 Thoughts article that we highlighted in the previous video, the Joseph Duszak video. 32 Thoughts taking you around the NHL trade market, published by Elliot Friedman on March 9th. So you can go ahead and check out the link in the description if you want to read this piece. Now, if we go over to the fourth thought on the piece, Elliot Friedman writes that it's foolish to guess what Lou Lamoriello is up to, but there is increased chatter around sending Varlamov. 1 more year, $5 million cap hit, $4 million cash. If no trade covers half the NHL, teams are petrified of admitting they're talking to the Islanders because, Lou Lamoriello. If it does happen, though, I'm not convinced it will be Edmonton. Now, that's one small little comment that he made about the Oilers not being a team that he sees will actually acquire his services. Let's go over onto another post. This is by James Nichol. He does stuff on the fourth period. He covers the Islanders. He also streams on Twitch. It's pretty great. He wrote a tweet earlier in the week saying that Semyon Varlamov should have been proved tonight that he could be a starting goaltender for a playoff team. The question is, will it happen? We had Tim English who responded and he said, I think he'd actually be a good fit for the Oilers. Not entirely sure if Lou could get back for him, but he would be an upgrade over what they have over there currently. He then had yourself Nichols who responded to this, and he said, I'm told that Varlamov will not waive his no-trade clause for Edmonton. We then had ourselves even more rumors popping up. Apparently there was a reputable source that went out there. I'm not too sure if this is from Nichols himself, but it appears so that apparently the Oilers did ask about Varlamov, but those conversations did not go too far. Varlamov is not going to waive his no-trade for Edmonton, and with that in mind, I kind of wanted to go out there and bring up the question to Oilers fans, does that concern you? Like, I get it, first and foremost, there's an entire statement that goes around when it comes to no-trade clauses that says that most NHL players have just the Canadian teams, all of them, on their no trades because they don't want to go over the border, they don't want to do the entire thing with the taxes and whatnot. It's a pretty complicated process going from an American NHL team to a Canadian NHL team. So the idea that Semyon Varlamov just straight up doesn't want to go to any team in Canada, it does exist. But in isolation, taking a look at just the Oilers themselves, it is this somewhat of a worrying sign that Varlamov, who is a good goaltender on a bad team, does not want to go to an Oilers squad in any potential trade. I personally don't see it as the entire world collapsing in on itself if you're an Oilers fan, but I have seen some people freaking out a little bit. Okay, if Varlamov is not willing to waive his no trade, then what about Fleury? What about all the other guys? What about any other player that would be involved in these conversations too? Do other goalies even want to come to Edmonton? How eager does this make the Oilers in the rest of their conversations for other guys? Because if one of their main options that they did talk about is shooting them down, what does that say about Fleury? What does that say about Torkasalo? What does that say about Jake Allen? There should be a little bit of a conversation popping up around here because if the Islanders are going to go out and try to get the best package they can for Varlamov, they have to start to say, okay, let's say Varlamov does get traded. He goes to... So I'm going to open up this video by talking about semantics. Let's talk about the idea of a franchise caliber player. Because no, when I say franchise, I don't mean Connor McDavid, I don't mean Crosby, I don't mean Gretzky. These guys are generational players. They define a generation. To me, what a franchise player is somebody who defines a franchise. Somebody who, when you think of that hockey team, you think instantly, okay, Henrik and Daniel Sedin. When you think Philadelphia and Claude Giroux, when you think I don't know, Colorado, you think Nathan McKinnon. These are franchise caliber players. And to me, the differentiation between franchise and elite is that franchise players would still be franchise players if you place them onto most other NHL teams. You move McKinnon over to, I don't know, St. Louis. You still think McKinnon when you think St. Louis. You move Elias Pettersson over to Minnesota, all of a sudden he is a franchise-defining guy alongside of Kirill Kaprizov over there. Sure, you could have one or two franchise players on the team. It's not really restricted to one, in my opinion, like Sedin were both franchise guys on Vancouver, so it makes sense. But when I think of the Dallas Stars, for the longest time, that franchise-defining player, to me at least, was Jamie Benn. Mostly because he won an Art Ross back in 2014, or whenever the heck it was, with like 80-something points on the year. But him and Seguin, to me, were guys at the top of the NHL. Seguin was right there with him, and I thought that Jamie Benn was that franchise-altering player. Now, give it a few years, Jamie Benn to me is no longer that type of caliber guy. I think that Miro Heiskanen is a franchise-defining defenseman to be because he's just got such a high ceiling. But I'm going to go out there and use that label. I'm going to go out there and label one of these younger guys that doesn't really get too much of a spotlight, especially compared to his younger brother, as a potential Dallas Stars franchise-defining player. Let's talk today about Jason Robertson. Now, I know some of you might go out there and say, "Well, you're biased, bro. Jason Robertson, Nick Robertson, their mom's from the Philippines. They're half Filipinos, and you're Filipino, so you automatically have a bias towards them." And yes, that might be true. It's probably 100% true, actually. But, still, the reason I'm making this video is because on the Our Hockey subreddit, when they posted Jason Robertson's overtime goal, last night, his hat-trick goal, by the way, against the Winnipeg Jets, one of the threads that was in the comments was indeed this conversation sparked up by Alexa 1993. Jason Robertson is a franchise player. He's the best player under 25 I've ever seen wear a Stars sweater. And then a whole bunch of Dallas Stars fans go out there and reply, "Yeah, I agree." Somebody asked, "Oh, is he better than Heiskanen?" And somebody said, "Yeah, Miro's fantastic, but if I had to only pick one, I would pick Robertson. Miro on our team, yeah, Robertson is better. Miro on another team, probably not." So, the fact is, it's not just me who's kind of thinking about this. And when I saw this pop up on my Reddit feed, I had to take a step back and think about it. I was like, the idea of Jason Robertson being a franchise player, am I ready to give him that label? And then, with every highlight that I saw, with every statistic that I saw, I slowly started to conform myself into saying, yeah, he definitely is. Jason Robertson yesterday against the Winnipeg Jets went out there and scored himself a hat-trick. And these goals were fantastic goals. All three of them absolute highlight reels right there. The first one, he gets the puck on the side of the net right in front of Hellebuck, and he goes back and forth, and Hellebuck gets his jock straps completely deep to the roof. And Robertson easily slips the puck outside, inside, right behind Hellebuck, and he just pops it in easily with the open cage. He doesn't even sell it, he just kind of walks it off. This is like a goal you score in beer league where you just dangle the goaltender out of his hands. Even the commentator on the broadcast, he said something like there must be some emotional damage for Connor Hellebuck because of the goal that Robertson scored. Just a hockey smart man. Fantastic skills. Give it a few more minutes, and in the second period, eventually, it's Robertson who gets himself a cross-crease pass in front. Rather than one-timing it, like most players would do, he takes the puck over to the short side once again, and he dangles it through, pots it 5-hole on Hellebuck. Just another in-your-face, I'm going to just take the pants right off of you and go through your legs type of goal. And then in overtime, he had himself a breakaway that he forced to the sheer power of will. Blake Wheeler completely gets beat here. Robertson takes it over, he comes and he shoots, he scores, and he lies down on the ice afterwards because he was completely out of gas. That was like the end of a 1 minute 30-second shift or whatever it was. But now, take a look at what Robertson is in the numbers after this hat-trick game. 51 points in 46 games on the year. He's on pace for 82 points over 74 games. And 40 goals, too. This is a guy making $795,000 till the end of the season. He's going to need a contract extension. And all of a sudden now you're thinking, okay, where the heck are they going to land monetarily with this guy? I mean, he was a second-round pick back in 2017. He's 22 years old. He's a big dude, 6'3", a lot taller than his younger brother Nick Robertson from the Leafs. But where the heck did this guy come from? How did he get so good so quickly? This is his second full year in the NHL. 145 points, 51 games played, and you go over to the totals right here. Take a look at this stat right here. Star forward Jason Robertson will play his 100th career game against Winnipeg. He has 94 points so far in 99 career games. Make that 97 points because he got 3 points yesterday. So 97 points in 100 games over the past 20 seasons. There are only 11 players who have 94 plus points in their first 99 career games, which was what Robertson was at before yesterday's game played. He's right up there with Patrick Kane, Artemi Panarin, Pedersen, Barzal, Stastny McDavid, Kaprizov, Malkin, Crosby, and Ovechkin. Okay, the last five maybe actually, not really in the same conversation here, but Matthew Barzal, Elias Pedersen, Patrick Kane, Panarin, Robertson. Yeah, these are franchise players right here. These are franchise-defining guys that when I think of their teams, I think of them. When I think of the Islanders, I think Barzal. When I think of Vancouver, I think Pedersen. When I think of Chicago, I think Panarin. I think Kane. I think of all of these guys as franchise-ceiling guys. And Robertson is right there. Robertson is at 97 points in 100 games. And so, this is some very extraordinarily impressive company that Jason Robertson has equipped himself with, and he is all of a sudden now one of the best Dallas starters that we have seen this season at 22 years old. This line that he's on with Pavelski and Roope has been phenomenal. Like, I cannot stress how good this line has been. They're at the top of their team in points. Seguin and Ben are right there, 4th and 5th. Heiskanen is right there, of course, because Heiskanen is really good, but this Robertson, Pavelski, Hintz line is literally the second line in the NHL when it comes to expected goals for. They're better than the Gensel, Crosby, Rutz line. They're better than Hyman, McDavid, Oliarski. They're better than Larkin, Bertuzzi, and Raymond in terms of expected goals for. The percentages, they're still pretty good, but they're not one of the top. They're out here as the, I believe it's like the 12th line or something like that. But either way, I cannot stress how good this line has been. And for anybody who's going out there trying to predict contracts, this is probably one of the more difficult ones to go out there and talk about. An RFA who is a point per game, who is in the same conversation as Panarin and Kane and Pedersen and Barzal in terms of point production in his first 100 games, and who is playing on a team like Dallas that is going to get kind of screwed because they have Roope Hintz also expiring in a year from now. Dallas has themselves a difficult conversation to have with all these players. Pavelski, Radulov, Gurianov is also expiring too, but none other than Jason Robertson is the wild card in this situation. He's going to make things really interesting, and whatever payout he gets, I believe he's going to earn it, because this is a player that, if he continues along this trend in the long term, his skating doesn't matter anymore. Like, the reason he even went so late in the draft, he was the second round pick in 2017, despite the fact that he was a really good scorer in the OHL, it was because of his mobility issues. Everybody talked about his skating and how he had clunky, cinder block-like legs that didn't really move as much as he wanted an NHL prospect to be able to. But he has worked on that. Sure, he's not a phenomenal McDavid-like skater right now, but his skating is good enough to the point that the rest of his skills in his game is offensive awareness, his positioning, his off-puck offense, and what he does when the puck is on his stick, the awareness of other players on the ice, the awareness of where his opponents are, the awareness of where his teammates are, what he needs to do to dangle by a guy or two. He's so smart, so skilled, and so quick at making positive decisions